think that Lydia is absolutely, so truthfully her own. She is, her voice is just, it's a voice for everyone. It's a voice for herself. It's a voice for people that have ever felt restrained, restricted, people that really just want to speak and discover truthfully, honestly, viscerally who they are through, whether it be through art or whatever medium speaks to you. She is absolutely an icon for people that they know they have a talent, or if they want to know who they are. They want to have a purpose. They want to have something meaningful that they can offer to themselves, to others, and just speak their truth with absolute conviction and just strength, unapologetic strength. And what an honor having just someone, being able to read about somebody like Lydia, because she really truthfully, she really speaks volumes to me, because she really brings out in even just myself, I can speak for other people as well, but just there's so much more in there than what people expect of you or what you think you're supposed to do. What do you want to do? What don't you want to do? What are you not going to tolerate anymore? Who are you, really, essentially?
And she came to art later in her life. She was married, she had children, and at that time, for her to break free of that and say, I'm not going to be defined.
Yes. She's only going to be, she defines herself. She really finds her own path, and again, it's her own way of doing it, and she has no regrets, which is just wonderful and amazing, and just, she really is. She really is a heroine in that regard, because so many people, like myself, hold back, and we don't use our voice, and I don't want to be too loud, I'm so sorry. She's like, no, fuck that, I'm not sorry, this is who I am. Take me or leave me, love me or don't, that's okay, because I love me. And damn it, that's the most important thing in the world, is it not?
Yeah. But back then, when she was, back in the late 60s, a lot of people don't realize that while there was a cultural revolution happening for women in major cities, she was from a very small town in Utah, like not even a town, it literally was just sprawling land.
Right. Yeah. Coming from, I've never been to Utah, but I can only imagine, especially being in, respectfully, Mormon country,
right.
Being raised, although not as a Mormon, but it's still, there's restraints, there's restrictions, there's, we don't do that here. And for her to come from such a place and just kind of break out and just say, no, this is how it is. This is what I'm doing. I'm an artist, damn it, and I'm going to speak, whether you like my stuff or not. She doesn't care. There's nothing. I love that. I love that she's not embarrassed by anything. Why should she be? And so many people are. I am.
Yeah.
I've spent years thinking, I can't do that. I'm not good enough at that, or I'm not absolutely brilliant at this from the get-go. And she's like, no, fuck that. You have to learn and grow. And I think she really enjoys the learning and growing process. And that's good. That's okay. That's how you get there.
Right.
And she truly accepts herself as she is. And being a mother as well, what a wonderful message to be sending to your children. There's no, go, blossom. Who are you? Discover who you are. Whether it's through a lump of clay, whether it's through music, whether it's through belly dancing, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Shake it.
Well, I certainly relate to her as a mom and a wife who is just looking for something else to fill her life experience or whatever, or her boredom, or whatever you want to call that. But like, she wants to make herself feel better by having this experience with someone who's famous or cool or whatever. And
so she's kind of like the quintessential groupie.
yeah, she's like I guess an older groupie, like a housewife groupie, which I can understand. You want to have a piece of some kind of history, like, oh, I did this. I was with this person, this famous person, and it changed my life, or made me different. I think that's what she's hoping will happen to her. Well, I guess it does change her, but not necessarily for the better. Deep down, I think it screws with her more than anything. But I like her. I think she's somewhat of every woman, so to speak. Like, we all have that fantasy about being with someone famous. I mean, everybody, I think, at some point in your life has had that kind of like, oh, I would love to meet that person, or I'd love to, be their boyfriend or girlfriend. Like, I used to want to be married to Billy Joel when I was a teenager because of his lyrics. So it's the same kind of thing. Like, the poet wanting to be like a cool, funky person, but that's not really who she is. And trying to be with someone else who's famous to make you be that same kind of person is sad and normal and the same.
But I think it reflects the times.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There was women's lib, and then there was, women who were still tied to the way their mothers thought they should be.
She is a lot like me, just looking for something bigger than who she is, or what she thinks is going to change her for the better.
I have to say, I kind of like Dee Dee. I think Dee Dee has an enormous set of girl balls. I think that she was so far ahead of her time that she deserves a lot of respect. I think she had an amazing capacity to see the ridiculousness in life and looked at it with sarcasm but without cynicism. So she kind of drew you into what she saw and made you see it in the humor and in all of its ridiculousness that she saw it. So it's fun to get into her head. I loved reading her work because she painted such a beautiful picture of the times, and yet instilled on it all the stupidity and all of the ridiculousness of it, and made you appreciate it, but at the same time see the sadness in it. So I think that maybe that's the quality that I found so interesting in her, was that although she was very funny and she was very sarcastic, there was almost a sadness to her.
Like using humor as a defense mechanism? I mean, I know that sounds shallow, but
yeah, or it was that's how she wrapped her head around it. Was if you put it in a humorous context, it's easier not just to understand, but it's easier to explain to others. If you're very harsh and you're very bleak, sometimes people will dismiss you. And especially as a woman in her time, it was easier for her to show some of the inequities, the inequalities, the horrible parts of her life. If she did it with a humorous tint to it, people would accept it more and hopefully leave them thinking about it without threatening them.
Right, because she was an executive for Capitol Records, and living in a man's world, and one of the only female executives, if not the only female in the United States. So, yeah, I think that's pretty dead on.
She did it at a time before women were accepted in the boardroom or at any level in
in any type of a business in an industry that's pretty much still a boys' club today.
Absolutely.
So I think that in order to do something like that, she had to be so far above, so much smarter, so much sharper, so much better at what she did than the men that, I mean, it's very difficult for me to understand how good she had to be at her job in order to do what she did in the time period that she did it.
And possibly, you know, all that stress and pressure could have led to her eventual breakdown, her eventual demise.
Absolutely. I mean, she, not only did she break barriers at a time when, you know, before anybody even considered women capable of doing the things that she did it in an industry that is extremely unforgiving, is very youth-oriented, and men can age gracefully within that industry, whereas women, there are very few women who can. And that, I think that at a certain point, that became a difficult part for her to understand, is that, you know, this is such a youth-oriented, and her being a woman, it's much easier to throw a woman out when she hits a certain point in her age than it would be to do it to a man. He's just coming into his maturity, whereas a female is becoming old. And I think that that shook her to her foundation, that, you know, here I am and you've judged me on all of these other elements. Why now are you tossing me aside? And that's a very difficult thing to take, you know, when you think your value is based on your intellect or your ability, as opposed to your age or your beauty.
Do you feel like times have changed? Do you feel like in America, you know, here we are, it's 2011, do you think that women now, women that are, say, 40 and over, there's actresses in Hollywood now that are 40 and over and getting work, do you feel like times have changed, or do you feel like it's, you know, plastic surgery or whatever is, you know?
I think times are changing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you look at someone like Helen Mirren, and, you know, Helen Mirren is so outstanding that she can do it at any age, but she's outstanding. I still think that you still have to be, you know, 10 steps above the guy in order to be accepted at that age. You have to be exorbitantly beautiful, I think, or extremely talented. I still don't think it's the norm. There aren't a hell of a lot of Kathy Bates running around out there, and it's a damn shame, because I think there are a lot of Kathy Bates running around out there, but no one will give them the time of day.
Do you think it's an American thing, or because you yourself personally have traveled extensively outside of this country, do you feel like it's something that's more of an American issue, or what do you? Honestly, what do you think?
I think Europeans appreciate women a little bit more at different ages, and are less wrapped up in the youth culture than Americans are. I think, unfortunately, though, the opposite is happening, that they're taking on the American perceptions as opposed to our taking on theirs. And I still think, like I said, I still think it's in transition. I think that we have some women out there now who are so good, so strong, so beautiful at what they do that hit 40 isn't going to stop them. But I still think they're still the exception, not the rule. And unfortunately, I see a change in trend from Europe back in the 60s and the 70s to now. It has changed, and I think it's you know, the Americans are instilling their culture upon them as opposed to them instilling it on us. I think I'm speaking in generalities, though. I think there are a lot of people out there who do still, they appreciate a female regardless of her age. And I hope someday that becomes an accepted norm. I think it's going to be a long time to change, though. I don't think it's something that, you know, these are women that did it in our time. I think it's going to take a couple more generations before people can look at something and see no gender and rate you specifically on, you know, all of those other intrinsic qualities outside of your tits, your ass, or your face.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, but we're gonna try to fix it.
If I were to be completely honest, I would have to admit that the part of Sarah was the most difficult one for me to write because so little was known about her early life. Most of what you can find is maybe a couple years before she met Bukowski, and then, you know, the rest is, you know, as they say, is history. She, you know, is firmly planted into the Bukowski lexicon. And part of my focus with this film was to find out who they were apart from him. And not a lot was known apart from him. So, you know, I looked at her interviews and everything, and I got the sense that she really got off on the proximity of his fame. And then I was thinking, oh, well, you know, then is she a groupie? And then I found this interview with her. You know, I was digging, and found that she was in devotion to a guru for many years. And so I was thinking, groupie, Mother Teresa, you know, why am I stereotyping her that she's got to be one or the other? So when I wrote her part, I wrote in both sides of that. And I was not supposed to play the part. I did not want to be Barbra Streisand and Yentl, you know, but an actress didn't work out, and we were under extreme time constraints, financial restraints with the location. It was just nuts. And I tried really hard to find another actress, and it just didn't happen. So let's put on a show. And I strapped myself in and you know, went for it. And I have to say that without Linda Bukowski, we wouldn't have had the last, I don't know, 16 years of writing from Charles Bukowski. So I am grateful to her for that. I also have to say that I'm grateful to her because she's an example of true feminism. All of the women in this film are. But true feminism means making choices for your life, the ones that you want, not the ones that other people think might be great for you. You know, to some women, you know, taking care of this old abusive drunkard may not be the ideal life, but to somebody like Linda Bukowski, this may be part of her mission. This may be part of what she's on this earth for. And I had to respect that. I think I like this one best.